I just returned from Lucid Motors Investor Day event in New York City. They did invite a few members of the press to attend, where the company laid out its roadmap to profitability. The centerpiece of that roadmap being its next generation of electric vehicles, what they've been calling their mid-size vehicle for a while now. And I say vehicle, but it's really vehicles, because the company surprised us by revealing the fact that their mid-size vehicle isn't a vehicle, it's 3 vehicles. The first one is going to be called the Cosmos, the second one is going to be called the Earth, and the name of the third one wasn't revealed yet. And the real surprise of the day was the fact that we were able to see the Cosmos. We had private tours to check out the vehicle in near production form, and it was very impressive. Unfortunately, we weren't allowed to take pictures. They had our cell phones all locked up and we agreed not to take pictures. They are going to reveal the vehicle later this year. And this vehicle is going to launch at a price at less than $50,000. That's what's very important for Lucid. Lucid makes outstanding electric vehicles, in my opinion, some of the best available today. Yes, the company has had some software issues, but it seems now that since Ima Dalala has taken over the software, the ship is getting righted. They're pushing out software updates. Customers seem to be happy, for the Gravity at least. Air customers are still a little bit lagging, but from what I understand, they're going to get some updates pretty soon. So Lucid's problem wasn't building outstanding vehicles. It was the fact that they were very expensive. In 2025, they sold about 16,000 cars, and that's up from 10,000 vehicles the year before. It simply isn't enough to sustain a business. The brand needed to go down market with a more affordable mass market vehicle, and the midsize is supposed to be that vehicle. So at the event, I was able to talk to Cory Steuben, the director of cost engineering at Lucid Motors, specifically to talk to him about how they were able to drive down the cost. Cory is a specialist with teardowns and cost efficiency. So he was the right guy, and Lucid targeted him a few years ago and brought him into the company specifically to work on the mid and get it as affordable as possible. So we're going to talk to Cory for about 20 minutes in the next segment here and get his thoughts on how that was achieved. And you'll notice while we're talking, we're standing in front of what Lucid calls the Atlas drive unit. That's their next generation drive unit that's going to be in the mid-size vehicles. And Lucid always had incredibly compact and powerful drive units. I mean, when you line them up and compared them to the drive units from other companies, it was amazing how small and compact it was, yet how powerful it was. Well, they actually did one better with this new Atlas drive unit. It's not quite as powerful as the unit they're using now, which is called the Zeus drive unit, but they don't need it to be as powerful because the family of mid-size vehicles are going to be smaller and lighter. So even with less horsepower, it can still achieve fantastic performance. But what they really needed to do was make it smaller, even more compact and lighter, because everything was about cutting weight on this vehicle, because the lighter you make it, the smaller the battery that you can use, which in itself makes the vehicle more efficient. It's just a cycle. By getting it as small and as light and as compact as possible, it makes the vehicle even more efficient, so you could save even more money. And this new Atlas drive unit uses even less parts and is much more compact than the previous generation. It's super impressive. So let's head over to New York, where I had an opportunity to talk to Cory Steuben about Lucid's next generation of vehicles. Today's video is sponsored by evchargingstations.com. If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy to understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark evchargingstations.com and make smarter charging decisions. I'm here today with Cory Steuben. Cory is the Director of Cost Engineering for Lucid Motors. Cory, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me. Thank you for attending our event here, Investor Day in New York City. We're standing in front of the Atlas drive unit. What do you want to dig into today?
Well, first of all, let's briefly talk about your history, because some of my followers might recognize you. You came to Lucid a couple years ago from
Monroe and Associates.
Monroe and Associates. You have a real specific skill, and that's part of the reason why they brought you here, which is what we're going to talk about today.
So almost 2 decades of benchmarking in my previous role, and now I'm here at Lucid. So I started off my career in chief engineering. I was the assistant chief engineer for about a year, a little over a year. But then there was a real need to focus on cost. So I took over a global cost role, managing cost engineering for all 3 platforms. But on midsize, it was a common theme of our presentation today. So if you saw in the presentation from our executives, we're really focused on making sure midsize is profitable. And we walked through a lot of our technology. The Atlas drive unit right here is a perfect example of how we reduced part count by 30% and cost by 37%. Our Atlas drive unit, our Zeus drive unit, was already best in class when it came to packaging efficiency, but this is one of the best examples. So do you want to take a step back and talk about what you saw in the presentation today?
Yeah, Lucid makes incredible vehicles already. The Air and the Gravity, I've raved over both of them, made videos on both of them. Lucid has seemed to be able to nail everything except cost. Except bringing the cost down where, mass market appeal, where people can afford it. And that's the sub $50,000 vehicle. And what the theme of today was, in addition to it being a true Lucid, driving dynamics, efficiency, and all that, we've been laser focused on cutting costs.
Yeah.
And you've been one of the main driving forces in that.
Yep.
So let's talk about some of the things that you've had to do.
So inside of Lucid, it started with setting the boundaries for where our business case needed to be. So the initial BOM cost targets were aggressive when you compare and contrast to what Lucid was used to. And in the presentation today, they showed where we want to be at from a BOM cost position for midsize versus Air and Gravity. And there's a large journey to that point. And as we progressed with engineering, we wanted to make sure we maximize value to the customer. And that actually came through in a lot of our Investor Day material when you look at our space and our efficiency. So we've stated efficiency is up to 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and we can only achieve that if we have a nice balance of efficiency and aerodynamics. But we also give class-leading space as well. So as we've progressed on the midsize program, we worked tirelessly to fight for reducing every circuit we could. Every material choice was agonized over, whether we started with steel, maybe we had a steel weldment. And what you can't see in this video is right to my left, out of view, is our PV build, which people were able to see today, but we can't show on the video. So we walked you through our material choices of our body structure. That mixed material body structure allowed us to deploy costs and features where necessary to deliver the right structure in the right places, but then pull cost out where necessary. And I truly believe that working with my partners at Lucid, with Chief Engineering and the program team, we are going to deliver a vehicle that is a joy to drive and really delivers. So, but I want to know your thoughts here.
Well, so far, I like pretty much everything I've seen here. You guys can't wait till you see the finished product. We also saw the
show car,
the pre-production show car, which I think it looks dynamite. It retains the Lucid, but you also step a little bit out of, I think, your core Lucid styling. You got a little daring with that, and I like that. It was really good. Now, as far as cutting costs, which is really what we're here to talk about, I mean, this vehicle, you could have made that same vehicle and it would have entered the market at $10,000 more, and nobody would have been surprised looking at it. It seems like it would be in that price market, but you were able to do a ton of things to pull it down. We talked about only 3 ECUs.
2 unique. So one of those ECUs is common left and right. Yeah, and Matt Bachman, assistant chief engineer at Lucid Motors, really toiled over the electrical architecture, and it's something that he's most proud of. And he's worked with the team almost longer than anybody on midsize, and it's yielded an incredibly low wire count, as well as a great way that all of the ECUs communicate to each other. Hopefully, there's some visuals you can grab from the presentation and overload that.
I'll be able to do some B-roll while we're talking here now. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just one of the things. The motor also, you touched a little bit on that earlier. And this is the rear drive unit, right? But the front drive unit looks the same as this?
Yeah, so great point. So our RDU, so rear drive unit right here, is 64 kilograms, and it says 235 kilowatts or 315 horsepower, which is incredible. It's 4.9 horsepower per kilogram or 3.7 kilowatts per kilogram. Incredibly dense from a gravimetric and power dense perspective. But here's some of the things I'm most proud of. When it comes to cost, we sometimes make some decisions inside of this drive unit to increase the diameter here, decrease the diameter here, to have lower cost bearing strategy. So we have a traditional input for a half shaft versus on the Zeus drive unit, we had a much larger OD, which drove a non-standard bearing with a non-standard seal, meaning it's just much larger than you typically see. We wanted to minimize drag. Also inside of the drive unit, we have our differential. We've reduced it to 2 gears on that differential, the planets, versus 4. So if you look at the Zeus drive unit, we had that small differential with 4, nicely machined gears. Now we can go to 2 lower cost forged gears. And also the way that we assemble the carriers for the gear reduction, the planetary set, is much more top down. And so we can build those assemblies up top down, so it's much easier to manufacture. And then if you notice on this drive unit, you don't see a pump and you don't see a plate heat exchanger. Yeah, so in many of the competitors, you have the plate heat exchanger. Even on our Zeus, I don't know if we can get this in camera, maybe it's in camera. We have a plate heat exchanger. That's integrated inside of the drive unit. Now, you said, oh, is this your front drive or is this your rear? The size of this is so small that our RDU is smaller than many FDUs of other OEMs. So we can carry over the core architectural elements, the actual castings, the side plates, the mounting locations, front and rear, and make small adjustments to the rotor and the stator. And we're not specifically telling what we're doing, but you can imply what you think we do to make small changes to the rotor and stator. And we have the ability to make some adjustments in the inverter for cost and performance. But the core shape, architecture, the elements, the castings remain essentially unchanged.
And being that it's such a compact unit, and first of all, your previous motors, I always commented how compact they were compared to other motors from other brands. And you've even taken it down another notch here. But being that it's so compact, it allows for the rear storage area to have even more area because the motor is so low back there. We got a chance to take a look at that. It has a huge lower compartment in the hatch.
And one of the most common use cases for me is I go to Costco on the weekend. Every weekend, every other weekend. I have a lot of kids now. Oh my gosh. And I roll that Costco cart up to my Lucid Air, and the Lucid Air trunk is huge. And with midsize, I'm envisioning me going to Costco. Can I fit an entire Costco cart? Can I fit a cart and a half? I don't know, am I going to get there where I need a ton of space? And it is an incredible amount of class-leading space in the rear of the vehicle and class-leading for the front as well.
We got to see that. Has a tremendous amount, considering it's not a vehicle that's as big as the Air, it still has a tremendous amount of interior space. So one of the things I was surprised, it seems like giga castings are all the rage now. Everybody wants to add a giga casting. They say it saves weight, it saves money, and those are the things that it seems like you're after. You didn't employ a giga casting here. Could you talk about why that didn't fit for you?
Yeah, so it starts with our insurance rating. So we want to look at total cost of ownership. So in the presentation today, we are projecting I think a 31% decrease in cost of ownership versus, some of our peers and whatnot. And the way we achieve that is by where we terminate our mega castings. So we do have 4 large castings in the corners, each of the front shock towers and each of the rear shock towers. But we choose to start and terminate our 2 crush cans at certain points to allow us for a higher level of repairability over a more wide range of impact scenarios. And we also want to be really careful to make sure that we achieve our 5-star crash safety rating. So some of the images that were shown today by Zach Walker in Chief Engineering, we show why we chose those materials. And we choose between steel and aluminum. We choose between extrusions and castings. If you look at how we tie the front together, there's some stampings, there's some castings, there's some extrusions, and we use those in ways that are the most efficient from a manufacturing perspective and a cost perspective for the given use case of those materials. And we want to have a balance between having mixed material but not overburdening the manufacturing space with such a complicated build process. And then utilizing ultra high strength steel where necessary really helps us enable our class leading driver vision. So I don't know if you remember, we walked through we have a door right over there, and we showed you how big, how much room and how much glass that you have so that you get this commanding view when you drive. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I thought it was great that you paid such attention to detail on every little detail, even that you don't include trim on the belt line, and how.
I think it looks great. It's like a Land Rover.
I think it works. Yeah. But there's a functional reason for that too. It wasn't just for the fact that it might save money, it might save weight. They talked about how easy it would be to adjust the window now simply by sliding out the gasket, and you could adjust the window, slide it back in. So what might be a job that would have been an hour or 2 hour repair or a service visit would be a 5-minute service visit.
Yep.
And that's just a microcosm. They talked about a number of different things that Lucid did to do things like that for the customer. You just talked about insurance, about how it was on your mind to keep the total cost of ownership. You also talked about during the event to keep the total cost of servicing the vehicle low. So you're really thinking about the customer down the road, not just about saving costs on the vehicle, but also on saving the customer down the road, which I thought was really good.
Yeah. And we wanted to make sure that when a customer gets in the vehicle, they're not burdened by a high step over height. So even our sill section, our foot swing, we want to ensure that there's not any compromises when it comes to getting in and out of the vehicle, so that people have not only an amazing experience getting in and out, they have an amazing command of the road when they drive. I don't know if we didn't talk about the chassis choices, but we have a 5-link rear with all steel links, all as straight as can be, all very low-cost manufacturing methodologies. Our front suspension, virtual ball lower. So we get that much improved scrub radius. We get better performance at high speeds, better feel. The geometry has been optimized to allow us to choose a perfect steering rack. So we were able to not necessarily have to spend as much money on the highest tier level of performance for steering rack. I don't know if you caught that.
I did.
It's a subtle point. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't required to throw the maximum amount of money in every single aspect of the vehicle. We were able to achieve the attributes for the customer with a really tailored approach. And that all starts with efficiency. So because the vehicle's so efficient, we're able to go further with less. And what we stated in today's Investor Day is that for us to go 300 miles, it only takes 69 kilowatt hours. Other OEMs have to go 74, 82, 86. So that, if you look at $120 a kilowatt hour for NMC, less for LFP, that's hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars more for something that only adds mass to the vehicle and degrades the attributes. So because we have that mass and that cost out of the vehicle, we're able to carefully redeploy those funds back to a better user experience or bring our BOM cost down to a position that helps us achieve profitability.
Okay, and I want to clarify one thing. You mentioned about 300-mile range. You're not stating that the vehicle has 300 miles range. You're just stating how much battery it would take to go 300
Yeah,
miles.
We're not stating our actual range now. We're also not stating the size of our packs now. I know them, but we're leaving some things to be desired as we have further reveals of the vehicle.
And it's about a year before they're going to be in customers' hands, right? Somewhere 10 months, something like that. I think you said end of year begins production.
Yeah, and you were able to sit in the show car. What did you think of the 36-inch screen and the clear view cockpit style? Did you sit in the car, or they didn't let you sit?
I didn't sit in the car. No,
another influencer got to sit in it. I'm sorry.
I obeyed the.
But did you see the screen? What did you think of that?
I got a good view of that. I think it looks great. Be interesting to see it while I'm driving, but I always loved Lucid displays as they were. and what Cory's talking about is this one big screen that stretched how many inches?
36.
36 inches. Whereas the previous Lucids had smaller display screen, 22, I think, or something like that.
No, so we had two screens. We had on the Air and Gravity, we have more of a rectangle screen down at the center, and then the more of the cluster screen. Yeah,
I think it was like.
I don't know the exact dimension.
But now it's stretched out all the way across.
Yeah, so it stretches out far enough where you can get an immersive experience with the passenger. Mm-hmm. Our brand team talked about that. Derek talked about that today, about the immersive software to have the passenger be able to reach that far end of the screen.
Yeah, and the only thing that I'm still concerned with is I love the driving experience of Lucids, the Air, the Gravity. I mean, you guys have nailed it. I just want to get behind the wheel of one of these so I can see that even with these cost reductions, this is going to start under $50,000 as a starting cost, that you don't lose something in that. I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying that will be, to me, it seems like you've done a lot with the vehicle. It looks great. You guys are going to love the look of the first. The Lucid is going to have a family of midsize vehicles. This isn't just one. We had kind of heard about the Earth before, but now we have the Cosmos, which is going to come out first, then the Earth, then a third unnamed vehicle. So I just want to make sure that you retain that Lucid driving experience with able to bring the cost down so much.
Now, you were able to see the front suspension. You can actually see it over my shoulder right now.
Yeah.
You were able to see the choices of material we made in the corner nodes. You were able to see the structure bracing that. And we really focused on making sure we had the correct body stiffness. And then look at the choices of materials for the chassis, look at the choice of suspension geometry in the front and the rear. And it shows that we have prioritized our ride and handling.
Well, it's all work together.
Not
that we don't trust you.
It is an attribute that we prioritize because that's something that's very hard to reverse if you go too far down and really cost cut in your suspension geometry and your ride and handling and your dynamics and your body stiffness. So we believe that the vehicle is set up to be successful with Lucid DNA in how it rides and handles.
All right, well, I'll be looking forward to drive it. Hopefully that'll happen in the coming months. I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me here. Good luck with the next generation of Lucid vehicles. It looks like a winner so far, but we'll have to see once we get behind the wheel and get a chance to drive it. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Appreciate it.
And once again, I'd like to thank Cory for taking the time to talk to me at the Investor Day meeting. A lot of people there wanted to talk to Cory, so I really appreciate the fact that he took 20 minutes out of his busy schedule to talk to me and the State of Charge community. All right, so what was learned at the Investor Day event? Well, a couple of things. Number one, Lucid does have a clear path to profitability. If it can execute that path is another question. We'll have to see. Their mid-size vehicle, the vehicle that was really going to be the vehicle that helped bring them to profitability and sustainability, isn't one vehicle, it's 3 vehicles. The first of which is going to begin production at the end of 2026, and it's going to be called the Lucid Cosmos. That's going to be followed about a year later by the Lucid Earth, and then a third vehicle at some point after that. We also learned that the Cosmos is going to have an efficiency of about 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which is exceptional. But Lucid has always been very good at making highly efficient electric vehicles. They just haven't been good at making them affordable. And that's what this range of electric vehicles that they're going to be producing now is meant to do. The sub $60,000 range, which is really the sweet spot, at least here in the US market. If they can execute that plan, I think Lucid is on their way to sustainability. We also got a glimpse at Lucid's more distant future, and that's the robo-taxi concept. If you follow me here at State of Charge, you may have seen a video I put out just a couple of days ago that talked about its robo-taxi concept. Really cool concept, but that's a little bit down the road. I wouldn't get too excited about their autonomous 2-seat concept vehicle just yet. Let's get through the mid the range of mid-size vehicles first before we talk about the Lucid robo-taxi concept. I think that was really there more than anything to show investors, look, we are future-minded. It's not just about the vehicles that we're doing right now. We are also working on vehicles that are becoming a generation or two down the road. And before I go, there's one thing I want to point out. A lot of other news outlets have said that the new Lucid Cosmos is going to launch with a 69 kilowatt hour battery pack. They were very specific about that. And if you recall, during my interview with Cory mentioned the fact that the vehicle would only need 69 kilowatt hour to achieve a driving range of 300 miles. Lucid has not stated that the vehicle will have a 300-mile driving range or that the battery is 69 kilowatt hour. I think some other journalists interpreted what they said as that being fact, and it's not. I even just reached out to Lucid now to confirm that, and I was told, Tom, that's right, we did not release battery size or driving range information. Some of the other journalists that have posted that maybe drew conclusions from what was said at this event incorrectly. And if you go back to the part in this video where Cory talks about that, you'll see he was just saying, look, we would only need 69 kilowatt hours to go 300 miles. Didn't say the vehicle will have a 300-mile driving range. I expect it to have more, quite honestly. And he just stated with how efficient the vehicle is going to be, they'd only need 69 kilowatt hours. So there's a distinction there. And I noticed quite a few news outlets are posting that. What happens sometimes is one news outlet posts it, and then other news outlets see it and say, oh, wow, we missed that from the investor meeting, so let's put it in our article too. We don't want to not have that information. They're too lazy to actually contact Lucid and say, look, is this fact? Which I did, and no, it's not fact. They have not released driving range or battery size for the Lucid Cosmos just yet. All right, well, that's all we have here today. I will be on top of Lucid with more mid-size vehicle, Cosmos, Earth, and other vehicle information as soon as it's revealed. Super excited about this. I'm pulling for Lucid. I really hope that they make it as a company. I think they make fantastic cars. They were just so expensive they couldn't really sell in the volume that's needed. They needed to bring this mass market, lower cost vehicle to market, and it looks like we're going to start getting the first of 3 by the end of this year. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.